Rymir Carter just lit the internet on fire. He claims Jay-Z's private family albums hold the truth he's been fighting to prove for decades. And what's inside isn't just old pictures, it's receipts that he says expose how his mother, Wanda, was trapped when she was still a teenager. For years, Rymir has begged the courts to listen, only to be shut down. Now, instead of another legal battle, he's taking his fight straight to the public. And in today's world, public opinion can be more dangerous than a courtroom. The question is simple. If these albums really show what Rymir says they do, what does that mean for Jay-Z's billion-dollar legacy? But that wasn't the whole story, because behind Wanda's sworn words and Rymir's persistence lies a pattern of rumors, denials, and silence that has haunted the Carters for years.
Hey, what's up with everybody? It's your boy Rymir here. I just want to get on here and let everybody know the updates, what's going on. It's been a crazy couple weeks, y'all. I want to let y'all know that I have not stopped my fight. You know, I did withdraw my case. It's for a reason, y'all. It's not because I'm stopping with it or not going to refile it or anything like that.
Rymir shocked a lot of people when he announced he was withdrawing his case against Jay-Z. At first glance, it sounded like he was giving up, but that's not what happened. Rymir made it clear. This wasn't the end, only a shift in strategy. Instead of running through another round of lawyers, judges, and delays, he decided to move his fight to a place where nobody could silence him, the internet. According to Rymir, the courts have failed him for years. Technical errors, missing paperwork, and powerful lawyers always seem to block him from getting a fair chance. So he pulled the plug on the legal battle, not because he was done, but because he was ready to try something different. His plan? To drop what he calls the family albums, a collection of old photos, timelines, and receipts that he believes tell the story better than any courtroom could. And here's the twist. By doing this, Rymir doesn't even need DNA anymore. In the court of public opinion, pictures, patterns, and sworn words might be all it takes. Fans online are already saying the resemblance is obvious. They're connecting dates, events, and Wanda's sworn affidavit. For Rymir, this new move is bigger than paternity. It's about forcing people to finally listen. But that wasn't the whole story, because the deeper you go into Wanda's words, the darker the claims become. To understand why Rymir is fighting so hard, you have to go back to his mother, Wanda. Before she passed away, Wanda left behind sworn statements that she met Jay-Z when she was only 16 years old. She never described it as a love story. She called it something else, a situation where she was too young and he was too powerful. That's why the word trapped hits so hard. In her eyes, this wasn't about romance, it was about control. In her affidavit, Wanda wrote that Jay-Z was Rymir's father, and she wanted the truth to be known. But every time her words made their way toward a courtroom, something went wrong. Judges dismissed cases on procedural errors. Lawyers dropped the ball. The system always seemed to find a way to shut her out. And to Rymir, that wasn't an accident. It was proof that the fight was bigger than just paternity.
Stand on my allegations regarding this matter. Mr. Carter, defense attorney in 2012 in New Jersey, didn't want me to sit next to her in the courtroom and stated, I quote, "I don't want her sitting next to me. I don't want her sitting next to me. I would not represent someone like her."
Even after her death, Wanda's voice echoes through her statements. She insisted that her son deserved recognition, that he shouldn't grow up silenced or ignored. For Rymir, those words became fuel. He wasn't just fighting for himself, he was fighting for the promise his mother left behind. But that wasn't the whole story, because Wanda wasn't the only person making claims about Jay-Z. Over the years, more names and stories have surfaced, creating a pattern that fans can't ignore. Wanda's story wasn't the only one. Over the years, Jay-Z's name has been tied to several other paternity claims, and while his team has always shut them down, the number of accusations has made fans question if there's more to the story. One of the most talked about was Letitia Murr, a woman who went viral calling herself Jay-Z's first daughter. She even created an entire Instagram page under that name, posting photos and sharing her story. Her family members backed her up, adding more fuel to the fire. Then there was Rymir Satterthwaite, another young man who said Jay-Z was his father. His godmother accused Jay's lawyers of blocking DNA tests that could have proven the truth. And let's not forget Chanel Scott, whose son Malik was once rumored to be Jay-Z's child after a DNA test ruled out her husband. Each time, Jay-Z's team responded with the same message: deny, dismiss, and move on. Fans noticed the pattern. The story was always labeled ridiculous, yet the same script played out again and again. For many, it became less about whether the claims were true and more about why Jay-Z never agreed to a simple DNA test. Because in the eyes of the public, silence can look like guilt. But that wasn't the whole story, because Rymir's approach was different. Instead of fading away like the others, he's bringing out evidence evidence the internet can't ignore: his so-called family albums. What makes Rymir's latest move different is the proof he says he has in hand, what he calls the family albums. These aren't just random snapshots. According to him, they're photos, timelines, and receipts that lay out his connection to Jay-Z in plain sight. In today's world, that can be more convincing than a stack of legal documents, because while judges might throw out cases on technical grounds, the internet doesn't need a gavel to pass judgment. Already, fans online are lining up the pictures side by side. They're comparing Rymir's features with Jay-Z's at the same age: his nose, his eyes, even his smile. TikTok detectives and Twitter threads are stitching timelines together, pointing out dates that match Wanda's sworn statements. To many people scrolling, the resemblance feels impossible to ignore. And here's where it gets tricky. Even if those photos aren't legal evidence, they shape public opinion. In the digital era, images carry power. Every repost, every comment, every meme adds to the narrative. Rymir knows this. By putting these albums out, he's moving the fight from a courtroom where money and lawyers matter to social media where public opinion decides the verdict.
Behind closed doors, that's only one case that we withdrew for right now. But it's a lot going on. You know how this industry works. These judges, these lawyers, these high celebrity people, they try to use all different types of tactics and call it what you want, bully tactics and different types of stuff to, you know, slow it down and just change the narratives.
That wasn't the whole story, because while the internet talks louder every day, Jay-Z himself has chosen complete silence, and that silence has become part of the drama. Through all of this, Jay-Z has never once spoken directly about Rymir, not in an interview, not in a lyric, not even in a slip of the tongue. His lawyers and reps handle it all. They've called the claims ridiculous, false, and shameful. Then they close the door and move on. It's the classic billionaire playbook: deny, dismiss, then disappear behind the walls of power. For years, that silence worked. The story would make headlines, then fade away. But times have changed. Social media gave Rymir a stage, and silence no longer kills a rumor, it feeds it. Every time Jay-Z ignores the claims, fans ask the same question: if he has nothing to hide, why not just take the test? And the longer the silence lasts, the louder that question gets. Rymir, on the other hand, does the opposite. He cries on Instagram Live. He speaks in interviews about wanting closure. He insists he doesn't want Jay-Z's money or fame, just acknowledgement. His openness makes Jay-Z's silence look colder, and in the eyes of the public, that contrast matters. Silence might protect a brand, but it also creates suspicion, and when suspicion builds online, it turns into narrative. For Jay-Z, the choice to stay quiet may once have looked safe. Now, it makes him look cornered. But that wasn't the whole story, because there's another person whose silence weighs just as heavy: Beyonce's. If Jay-Z's silence has raised eyebrows, Beyonce's silence has built a wall. She has never once mentioned Rymir, not in an interview, not in a lyric, not even in a subtle reference. For her, silence is part of the brand. Beyonce built her empire on perfection, family, legacy, and an image that feels untouchable. Every scandal, from the elevator fight with Solange to whispers about Jay's infidelity, has been swept under a polished glow. Speaking on Rymir would mean cracking that perfect image, and that's something she's never allowed. But fans haven't missed the pattern. When her father, Matthew Knowles, had children outside of his marriage, critics accused Beyonce of pretending those siblings didn't exist. Now, with Rymir's story in the spotlight, people are drawing the same comparisons. They say Beyonce would rather bury the noise than confront it, even if it means ignoring someone who could be tied to her family. Insiders have even whispered that Beyonce pushed to keep this story buried, worried it could damage the Carter brand. Whether true or not, the internet has already run with the idea, and once fans smell a cover-up, silence starts to look like guilt. For Beyonce, ignoring Rymir may protect her image, but it also paints her as complicit in Jay's refusal to acknowledge him. And when your brand is built on family first, that image can take a hit fast. But that wasn't the whole story, because this saga isn't just about a son and a superstar, it's about legacy and who gets to define it. Jay-Z's empire has always been about more than music. He's not just a rapper, he's a billionaire, a mogul, a husband to Beyonce, and a father to Blue Ivy, Rumi, and Sir. His story is often sold as the ultimate American dream, a man who rose from the streets of Brooklyn to sit among the world's elite. But in Rymir's eyes, that legacy hides a shadow, a son left unacknowledged, a mother who swore the truth before she died, and a fight that refuses to fade. The internet has started framing this as a battle bigger than paternity. It's not just Rymir versus Jay-Z, it's David versus Goliath. On one side, you have a young man with tears in his eyes, saying he wants nothing more than closure. On the other, a billionaire who stays silent behind lawyers and press releases. In a world where fans believe patterns more than paperwork, that contrast shapes perception. And perception is everything. Even without DNA, people online are convinced the resemblance is there, the timeline lines up, and the silence says more than words ever could. good. To them, this isn't gossip. It's a question of accountability. Legacy isn't only what you build, it's also what people believe. And right now, a growing number believe Jay-Z avoided responsibility while building his empire. But that wasn't the whole story, because hip-hop history proves secrets rarely stay buried, and once they surface, they can change everything. When you step back, Rymir's fight doesn't stand alone. It fits into a larger pattern we've seen in hip-hop and entertainment for years. Secrets have a way of slipping into the light, no matter how hard the machine tries to bury them. Remember Drake? He was exposed by Pusha T for hiding his son, Adonis, from the world. At first, Drake stayed quiet, but silence didn't work. The truth came out, and now Adonis is front row at basketball games. Part of Drake's story, whether he likes it or not. Even closer to home, Beyonce's own father, Matthew Knowles, had children outside of his marriage. Those siblings later spoke out, accusing Beyonce of pretending they didn't exist. The Carter-Knowles brand has always carried family drama. Only difference is, they've always kept it polished, but Rymir's persistence and his so-called family albums threaten to crack that shine wide open. Because in today's world, legacy isn't controlled by lawyers, it's shaped by the public. Every meme, every side-by-side photo, every TikTok thread becomes part of the record. Whether the courts recognize it or not, people already see this as part of Jay-Z's story. And that's the danger. Money and silence might win battles in court, but in the age of social media, perception decides the war. But that wasn't the whole story, because this saga doesn't just end with leaked photos, it raises questions about what legacy Jay-Z will truly leave behind. At the heart of this saga, you have two very different worlds colliding. On one side, there's Jay-Z, the billionaire mogul with a spotless public image, a polished empire, and a brand that seems untouchable. On the other, there's Rymir Carter, the son who says he's been silenced for too long, armed now with photos, sworn words, and the internet's attention. For years, the courts gave Jay-Z the upper hand. Cases dismissed, motions delayed, and lawyers shielding him from the storm. But the internet doesn't play by courtroom rules. Here, perception is everything. Wanda's affidavit, the family albums, the timelines, all of it feeds a narrative that money can't erase. Fans don't need a DNA test to make their own judgment. They look at the photos, compare the faces, and ask the one question Jay-Z refuses to answer. Why not just take the test? And every time that question goes unanswered, the silence gets louder. For Beyonce, silence has always been the strategy. But even her polished brand can't fully protect the Carter name from doubt. Because once the internet smells blood, it doesn't let go. In the end, legacy isn't just about the awards, the wealth, or the power. It's about the stories people remember. And right now, more and more people are remembering Rymir's name. Whether Jay-Z ever acknowledges him or not, in the court of public opinion, the trial has already begun.